but you have to sit there and be quiet and good. Yeah, you do. There's April. Hello.
Hello. I had some camera issues. Sorry about that. Hello, everyone.
Right. There. Clock just rolled over to 3 o'clock. We can go ahead and call the meeting to order. Before we get started, Gabrielle, do you have any general announcements we need to hear?
Sure. I did want to provide an update. I think we had sent an email previously about it, but the mayor board did adopt the charter amendments over the past two meetings. I forget the dates. They approved a bulk of them, and then there were a couple of ordinances and resolutions that need to be approved, one of which impacted the planning commission. It was moving the planning commission out of the charter and into the city code, but also was changing our structure a little bit so that now our aldermanic person, who will eventually become a city council person, will be a non-voting liaison, that the mayor can appoint a liaison from the city council to be. Those ordinances will go into effect on November 8th. So we will start to re-advertise, because that creates a need for a 5th person. So we have a new vacancy, which we'll get out and start advertising. So if you know people in the community who might be interested, who have background or experience, or just general interest in what we do on the commission, definitely encourage you to share that with them. It'll be updated on our boards and commissions webpage. We have a meeting set up for maybe 2 weeks from now to meet with our crew over at City Hall and look at our seating situation and some of the logistics of accommodating basically a new position on there and where everyone will be. So bear with us while we accommodate that change. The overall charter changes will be pretty significant. I think just going from the Board of Aldermen to the City Council after so many years of getting used to that is just going to be a hard thing to keep in mind. So so we will keep you posted on how that relates, but that vacancy should hopefully go out in the next week or so.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Thank you. All right. Anything else general from the commission before we get started? Don't see anything. All right. Well, the first item on the agenda is Parkview final site plan, and that's, you said, in its extension.
Yes, so that, as some of you may recall, around the commission at the time, that was a combined preliminary plat and site plan to subdivide 11 single-family lots off of what is basically the front yard of the existing multifamily buildings that are on the south side of the Creek Park, the linear park. The plan is coming up for expiration, and in conjunction with that, the APFO certificates will also expire. As we discussed, I think with the previous application not too long ago, it may have been Chapel Alley or 800 East Patrick Street. Those certificates are based on the length of their validity is based on the number of units in a development, and with smaller projects, they have the same 3 years that coincides with the site plan. Basically, once certificates become void, you really don't have any approval because they are really inherent to that. So the applicant is asking for another 3-year extension of both the plan and the coinciding certificates of APFO. The basis for their request is outlined in their letter, but basically it's based on the need to go through the FEMA process for a letter of map revision because there is floodplain on the site. They're pursuing that. We tried to outline in the report, the progress that they have made to establish, kind of a diligent effort to continue to move along. There are no criteria for extending the plan itself that are provided to you in the code, but I would remind that the purpose and intent, right, is that a project should continue to move through the process. We don't want people stalling at some point. Regulations will change, and we've defined a validity period and expiration provisions based on the assumption that at some point the rules will change, and we want projects that have stalled out and are not moving forward to comply with the new regulations, right? It's kind of common sense to So we provided kind of the metrics for what stages they've moved through the plan. And then there are criteria listed in the APFO that you need to consider for that certificate component. So you'll take 2 actions, one on the plan, one on the certificates. If you approve the extension on the plan, but not the certificates, the plan does kind of become null and void because that's a major component of it. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Ron, we'll start with you. Any questions? No. Natasha? April?
None at this time.
Nope, I don't have any questions either. Thank you. Great. So the next item is the 420 East Patrick Street, and then we've got the final site plan and the forest conservation plan. And I can't remember. I'm working off handwritten notes. I can't remember whose project that is. Sharon, go ahead. Fill us in. You're still muted. That's weird. Well, we can circle back to you eventually. The next one on the agenda is the Bakery de France. Monica, you want to?
Yes, I can do bakery. So Bakery de France is it's a site plan for an expansion on the bakery up on Monocacy Boulevard. They're asking for 3 modifications, 1 to have reduced parking, 1 to have a little bit of light spillover, and the third, I thought I could do this off the top of my head. I'm gonna have to look at it. Is the 1 access point on the parking lot instead of 2. Staff supporting all 3 of those. And also at the workshop, we talked about them reducing their light spillover, and they did, which was very nice. Other than that, it's a pretty straightforward plan. They're meeting all of their landscape on site. One thing I did want to mention is that they were issued a provisional APFO for roads. They need to contribute to new stoplights at 3 different intersections on Monocacy Boulevard, including Bakery Way. So they have their water and sewer provisional for roads, which allows them to move forward. And other than that, not a whole lot to discuss.
All right. Anything new since the workshop?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I can see everybody. So is there any questions from the Planning Commission? Ron, go ahead.
Yeah, Monica, it's interesting that you mentioned the traffic intersections. Are they requiring one now where that the one access point? Because I know there was a discussion at the workshop in terms of how close it was to the other lights on both sides. Are they now requiring one there?
So yeah, it looks like they are requiring ones. I don't know if they're requiring them with the building of this expansion, but there are lights planned there that they're going to need to contribute towards.
But not that particular intersection.
That intersection is included. Mm-hmm.
Oh, so there is going to be one.
Yes.
I remember in the workshop, there was not going to be one because of the proximity to the others. So now there is one.
Right. Yes. Yeah. They were talking about there being natural gaps in traffic because of those other 2 lights, but there is a light planned at Bakery Way eventually.
Yeah. So that curve was the one that intrigued me in terms of the sight distance. So I guess
Yes.
that's what they've decided is the case.
You got
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And also, thank you for bringing that up. I also wanted to mention that you had asked for elevations and I did supply those.
Oh, thank you. Yep.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. All right. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? Tasha, go ahead.
So did the number change on the parking spaces when they said they were having like the shift changes? Did you say it's less now than what we saw at the workshop, or did that change?
It's the same. Yeah, it's the same as what we saw at the workshop, but yeah, they're required to provide, I think 40 more than they're proposing because they said they just don't need it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so their modification is actually for a reduction in parking spaces, which is great.
Okay, thanks.
And just to add to that, as my recollection from that conversation was, these guys are providing the parking spaces the way I looked at it.
Mhm.
they if they're under parking their own facility, that they're only hurting themselves.
That's
So,
exactly right.
Yeah, because there's no other parking alternatives that they're going to have there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And they were saying that the 159 that they're proposing meets, even during shift change, when they've got 2 shifts there, that's adequate for their needs.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Nope. All right. Sharon, are you able to speak?
Yes, can you hear me?
Awesome.
Okay. Well, the 411, the 404, 420 East Patrick site plan project did respond to our requests. They did submit an exhibit. This is since the workshop, an exhibit that did have the enhanced exhibits that we asked for. So the matrix, hopefully you've seen that and you see that they have some additional elevations and you know, you can see where the solar plane is. You can sort of get an idea of what they're talking about. The other exhibit that they submitted was a new modification request letter, but I just want to assure you there's no new modifications. What they did was correct a misreference. They had on item 3 reference in their old letter, I think it was 420 something related to the 10-foot setback. Let's see, it's modification number 3, section 420 F3. Their original letter said D, and that is not related. That's not related to the maximum interior setback. So they corrected it to B. So that's the reason they had to change that, and they changed that throughout the matrix anytime that was referenced. So they did fix that on their newly submitted matrix with the enhancements, and then they corrected the modification letter. But those are the only 2 new things that were submitted.
Great, thank you. I can see everybody. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Good. All right, I'm good too. I think that's good for this agenda item. Thank you, Sharon.
You're welcome.
All right, next one is the Frederick Commerce Center. And for that, we have the preliminary plat, the forest conservation plan, and the final site plan. Who is?
Hey.
There, Sherry, great.
Pam.
Yes. My brain knew that, my mouth didn't.
That's all right. We finally got this here to you after they had been set back a month. But anyway, this is the subdivision of pretty much the south side of Gas House Pike there for Frederick Commerce Center projects. And they're dividing it into 9 lots, as you know. And with that, they have asked for a modification to our street detail for Gas House Pike as needed for the road frontage and everything. And then they're also asking for, again, for modification of that same detail for Logistics Park to meet the same design as the north section of Logistic Park. So we've got those modifications for you to be approved. And then they have also 3 different intersections that have to be for you to find that they have adequacy to the fullest as they exist. And we've listed those out, you know, Maryland 26 and Monocacy Boulevard, as you know, Monocacy Boulevard and Gas House Pike, and then also Monocacy Boulevard and East Patrick Street. And through the report, we explain why they have their constraints and improvements that have met as far as they can. And then we have the approval of the plat, of course, and then it has a number of technical comments. There are 2 agency comments that we have listed here for them to address that for some reason they have never put those corrections on their plan. So Washington Gas and First Energy will look at those and make sure before it's unconditionally approved that they have looked at those. And that is it for that plan.
All right. Anything for the forest conservation or the final site plan?
Oh, you know what? I just wanted to tell you that with this plat, you may remember we had an emergency access was going out the Linganore Road. And we mentioned that in somewhat of the text also, and that has been taken off the plat at this time and will be looked at when Lot 8 comes in. And that's in accordance with the annexation agreement and also with the county timeframe to really know how to design and have that completed. So that's been taken off this plat. So.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Do we have anybody with any questions? No, no, Natasha? No. All right. And I don't have any questions either at this point. Thank you very much. Oh, no. Okay. Gabrielle, did you want to say something?
Oh, I was just going to note if we were talking about them all three plans on the forest conservation. Pam, did you want to touch on some of
Yes.
the updates that the plan you have in front of you? We're recommending some modifications to, changes. Not should use that word carefully. Not modifications in the true sense, but changes to their forest areas. And I'll let Pam explain that that's part of our recommendation on Monday.
Yeah. If you remember, well, we do have the modification for the specimen trees, and that's pretty straightforward. And knowing what we've done, we did in the very beginning try to push to save a few of those specimen trees, and it has been looked at that due to some of the design criteria and also the topo and everything, that those trees are going to be removed also. But then with the changes to the forest conservation, afforestation stands, the applicant and I have been working out where to place the appropriate plantings, and I had, had said that they have an eagle's habitat there on site, and knowing that we want to make sure that it's planted appropriately for the habitat and also the appropriate size trees. So I did provide another attachment for you to look at too, where we have said that, and they have agreed that, and I've checked with the airport, that the certain height tree can be planted in this area that expands on the protection for the eagle habitat and so forth, and also gives more connection to the existing forest stands that are together, here. And then also too, they had a large swath of planting they had proposed along the river. They didn't need quite that much, but they will bring in enough to complete all their forest conservation on site. There also was originally a small forest conservation area that was near that emergency access to Linganore Road, and we have decided to have them remove that and plant elsewhere because of not knowing in the future where that road might go. We don't want easements put on it or plantings and then have to change it, even though there's a small stream there. So we will see when they get closer to lot 8 for that design, and where maybe tree plantings will go in. It might not be forest conservation, but tree plantings go in along that stream, whatever. But we've come up with a true kind of compromisable and agreed upon layout. It's not exact, but we will work with them in getting all their numbers on site, and for planting, and in the sense of where the yellow parts, as you see on the plan, they will be planting. So
thank you. Any questions on any of that new information? Go ahead, Ron.
Thank you. I seem to remember there was an archaeological sensitive area. Has that been addressed on this site plan, or are we still? I seem to remember we weren't supposed to talk about it.
Are you referring to the site that is actually on the city property, or are you talking about the farm lot there?
I'm not sure. I know that we talked about an archaeological sensitive site that was, I think, right on the Monocacy. I just don't. I haven't heard any more about that. It almost seemed like the last time we weren't supposed to talk about it, that it was like a super sensitive secret area that we weren't supposed to.
I don't think there's anything on this property that I recall that that archaeological area along the Monocacy is actually in an easement already, and that came from the Aldi property. And when they came in, and there is access to it from cities easements and stuff to that site, but it's an archaeological site that's under easement already. I don't think that expands to this property.
I seem to remember there was another one that was on the river. And again, I don't know if it was addressed on this, but maybe we can talk to the applicant about it on Monday.
I will try.
Unless I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I remember talking about a sensitive site, but I don't remember if it was on this property or if we were talking about why we weren't putting a shared use path along the edge of the river. And somebody mentioned the other property and said they didn't want people walking past it.
Right. They don't want people going in on the archaeological site.
Right.
So I think that is probably what you're referring to. I mean, I don't remember any discussion of any archaeological sensitive areas on this property. And they've gotten their approval. So yeah.
From the archaeological assessment.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
I think you might be thinking about Bakery de France. They're the ones who wanted to prevent people from going to the back of the property.
No.
They
It was a completely
annexed.
different thing.
Yeah.
This is months ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
we
it was a long
discussed
time
that, and
ago.
I remember Bruce Dean talking about it specifically because I was intrigued about it. Obviously.
Gotcha.
It may have
Wonderful.
been in conjunction with the annexation applications. I remember at a point Joe
Oh,
was
that could be,
talking about with location of the shared use path and where that would be most appropriate and where it wouldn't. So it might have been that long ago, back at towards the end of last year.
It says here that
a while ago.
It says here that the property got phase 1 approved in June of 2024 for Tom's, and also in June for Mercer. So there's no further action. And so I would say that they were cleared on their archaeological assessments. And
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Right.
And then the site plan actually is pretty straightforward because on here. Just for approval of the site plan itself, because these modifications and other things that would maybe come through with the site plan are being completed at the plat stage. So they've just got some cleanup they've got to do too.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Oh, one thing I just want to bring your attention to, and I'm not sure Gabrielle's aware of it too, because it had to be changed kind of last minute. But engineering had approved a right in, right out to lot 4. The west access, not going into logistics. So the west, the little private access drive going in is right in, right out. We attached that detail for you to see. And that's probably the only significant change I would even say happened with this plan, because they showed a full access at one time.
All right, thank you. One final chance for questions or comments? Nope. All right, I think we're good. Thank you very much. All right, and then the last agenda item is the zoning map amendment for Hillcrest Park.
Okay, well, this is the first of 2 hearings. And as you know, they did give you some concepts just to make sure that they knew that they could put this prospective library here at the site. And this is something that the city and the county have agreed to enter into agreement with processing this rezoning application. And then you will see a plan come back from the county eventually. And we've gone through the criteria for approval here for you in accordance with the population and compatibility and a comprehensive objectives and stuff. So I don't think there's really any significant thing here for you to look at, except making sure the criteria has been met. So.
All right. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions or comments? Nope. Seeing all no's. I have no questions or comments. I think that's taken us through all of the agenda items. Is there anything else that we need to discuss before we go? Nope. Gabrielle?
I think we should be in good shape for Monday.
All right. We will see everybody Monday then. Thank you
right.
very much.
Have a good
Good
weekend.
weekend all. Enjoy.
Meeting's adjourned. Bye-bye.